Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Ashley Sherrard and I'm the CEO of the Lenexa Chamber of Commerce, and it's my honor to moderate today's forum featuring the mayoral candidates for the city of Lenexa. And on behalf of the Lenexa Chamber and the Johnson County Public Policy Council, which is a collaboration of all the area local chambers of commerce, I want to thank you for joining us in this important voter resource. I'd first like to begin by sharing the format for our forum this afternoon, which will include 2-minute opening statements by the candidates, a moderated question and answer period during which the candidates will have 1.5 minutes to respond, followed at the end by 1-minute closing statements. The format, questions, and time limits will be the same for both candidates and will not have follow-up questions, formal rebuttal time, or audience participation. Candidate speaking order has been randomly determined in advance with the candidates and will rotate throughout the program. Now to begin, I'll first introduce our candidates in alphabetical order with a reminder that this is a nonpartisan race. Candidate Joe Karlin is currently a Lenexa City Council member serving Ward 1 since 2009. Joe is a CPA and owns a company providing consulting services to credit unions across the country. A graduate of K-State, as well as completing the Leadership Lenexa program, Joe has served numerous charitable, civic, church, and educational organizations. You can learn more about Joe's background and civic involvement at his website, www.joekarlinforlenexamayor.com. Welcome, Joe.
Thank you.
Candidate Julie Sayers is also currently a Lenexa City Council member, first elected to serve Ward 4 in 2019. A commercial interior designer, Julie is a principal and owner of an area firm specializing in commercial furniture. A graduate of the University of Kansas, she has been active in serving a number of civic organizations. You can learn more about Julie's background and civic involvement at her website, www.julieforlenexa.com. And welcome to you, Julie.
Thank you.
Now, if everyone will take a moment to make sure that your cell phones are silenced, we'll go ahead and get started with our opening statements today. Just a reminder, candidates will have 2 minutes each to present their opening statements. We established speaking order in advance, and for opening statements, Julie, you're going to go first.
Thank you, Ashley, and to the Chamber. And thank you, everyone who is joining online to watch this video. Critically important to be engaged with local elections, and Joe and I both certainly appreciate that very much. As Ashley mentioned, I currently serve Lenexa City Council in Ward 4, and I'm seeking to serve further as the next mayor. The growth that we've seen in the city over the last 20 years has been extraordinary. It has solidly established our city as one of the most desirable and forward-thinking cities in Johnson County. The vision and implementation that it took to get to where we are today required a culture of collaboration, prudent financial management, and active engagement with the public that we serve. For that success to continue, we must navigate our first leadership transition in more than 20 years. But we must also maintain the same strategy and vision that has guided us so far with an eye on the future. As a designer, a business owner, and council member, I am uniquely suited to serve Lenexa during this pivotal time. I look forward to sharing more, having this productive conversation today. Thank you.
And Joe, your opening statement.
Thank you, and thank you to the Chamber for putting this on. My name is Joe Karlin. I'm running for mayor of Lenexa. I'm very happy to say that my wife Amy and I have lived in Lenexa for 31 years. We've raised 4 kids here. They are all graduates of Shawnee Mission West. Community is incredibly important to us. We have been involved with our kids at schools, with church. My wife is on the board of the Lakeview Village. I've started 2 nonprofits to serve people in this community. So we are very community grounded. I have been on the City Council for 14 years, Planning Commission 4 years before that. So very happy to see everything that's happened in the 18 years that I've been involved with the city. From a professional perspective, I have been in finance and accounting my entire career. When I first got out of school, I started with Deloitte, and as a CPA, I actually audited cities, including our neighbor to the north, Shawnee. So I have an intimate understanding of finance and accounting and how that impacts the city operations. I've owned a business in Lenexa for 25 years, and so bring that to the table as well. And then finally, having been involved with the city and understanding the finance and accounting and business impacts to the city, I'm very looking very much forward to bringing that to the city as in the office of mayor.
Great, thank you so much. We're going to move on to the question and answer portion of the forum. And just as a reminder, candidates will have 1.5 minutes each to respond, and the speaking order will rotate with each question. Joe, you will answer question number 1 first. And that is, can you please tell us more about what your top 3 policy goals would be as mayor of Lenexa?
My top 3 policy goals are, first of all, public safety. Second of all, maintaining the community feel that we have in Lenexa. And then third, value for taxes. Backing up a little bit to the first one, public safety, that's our fire, police, and EMTs, and that's critically important to us to make sure that we maintain the excellent level of service that we have today. There has been an increase in property crime regionally, and so if elected mayor, I will put together a property crime task force that will really focus on stopping property crime and investigating crimes and really putting criminals in jail and off the streets so that we can protect the citizens of Lenexa. With regard to community, one of the things that I would emphasize there is affordable or attainable housing. And I think I'm the only candidate, not only in Lenexa, but maybe in all of Johnson County, that is actively working towards affordable housing. And there I think, words are cheap, but actions get results. So I'm very happy that we are moving forward, trying to get attainable and affordable housing in Lenexa. And then lastly, value for taxes. That is something that's very important to me. I understand that this is your money, we are stewards of your money, and I'd like to bring in some of the experience that I have from the private practice, such as zero-based budgeting and cost containment efforts, to the city to drop taxes even further. Thank you.
And Julie, can you please tell us more about what your top 3 policy goals would be as mayor of Lenexa?
I sure can, but before I do that, I just wanted to mention that we've spent the summer on the campaign trail distributing a survey to Lenexa residents. We've sent out about 10,000 of those, and what we've received back is that the priorities of Lenexans aren't necessarily what I came into this campaign with. The top responses have been parks and trails, repaving our roads, taking care of our infrastructure, and then public safety. So that's been an interesting finding that we've been able to uncover as we've been out talking to folks. Going into this campaign, I originally had the vision of sustainable community development and redevelopment or reinvestment in our infrastructure, making sure that as we grow, we continue to do so smartly and reinvest in the historical neighborhoods in Lenexa. The second would be just good governance and the organizational culture that we enjoy in Lenexa today. I think part of the reason why we are successful is because our governing body remains nonpartisan and has no divisiveness within it, and just maintaining that good set of values is important. And then obviously public safety is key to maintaining a safe and enjoyable culture that we have in the city today.
Now we'll move on to question number 2, and Julie, you will respond to this one first. What are your views on the services and value the city's citizens receive for their local tax dollars?
Yeah. So we consistently, even on the governing body and through the survey that we distributed, hear loud and clear that people feel well taken care of for their tax dollar in Lenexa. They understand that their snow always gets plowed, the parks and trails are amazing, roads get reconstructed in a timely manner, and that we spend their money wisely, and that they feel good value for that money. I would add, just here recently, anecdotally, with the couple of storms that we had, that there was a large number of debris that had to be picked up. Lenexa didn't question whether or not we were going to provide that service for our residents. We didn't ask, the municipal services did not come back to us for any additional funding to do so. We just got a plan and got back to work, and that's what really our residents expect from Lenexa services, and they certainly got it from us in those events.
And Joe, what are your views on the services and value that the city's citizens receive for their local tax dollars?
So it's easy to answer that one. From survey results that we conduct every other year, citizens very highly rate the value for taxes as compared to other cities within the state, region, and county. So we are doing all the right things. I think we can do a little bit more as far as making sure that we have really emphasized cost-cutting opportunities. As I go door to door, I hear, we love Lenexa, we love the services, but the taxes are a little bit high. So I think we can really tighten our belt a little bit more and provide the same level of service with a reduction in taxes.
All right, we're going to move to question number 3, and Joe, you'll answer this first. What changes, if any, would you like to see to the city budget?
So I've kind of hit that already. I don't think we need to reduce services. I think the level of services are adequate and appropriate. But I do think, again, bringing in some of the things that I have done for private companies and private practice, such as zero-based budgeting, such as cost containment initiatives, those things can bring true cost savings without degrading service. So that is my feeling on that question.
And Julie, what changes, if any, would you like to see to the city budget?
Yeah, so no changes initially. I think one of the important factors in leading Lenexa through this transition is making sure that all of that stays stable. We've already approved the budget for next year, so there will be little opportunity to make wholesale changes for the coming year. But I think one of the things that our residents say most often is that they don't understand the manner in which we prioritize projects. So I think that that's something that just needs a little bit of clarity and potentially some communication to our residents about, old City Hall and the old police station certainly is increasing in volume. The number of questions that we get about what's going to happen to that property. 83rd Street is one that is increasing in volume, that people want some additional infrastructure built on those roads. And I think just understanding how we prioritize our capital improvement program is really important to communicating what our budget and our values are.
Thank you both. And we're going to go to question number 4 now. And Julie, you'll answer this one first. What role, if any, do you believe the city should play in economic development to bring jobs and capital investment to the community?
I think it has and should continue to play a very important role as the marketing agent for businesses to relocate to Lenexa and certainly to stay here if they're already here. The best sales that we can offer is the quality of life that we have here in Lenexa and why people would want to do business here. I think an important part of that too is working with the chamber and negotiating economic development incentives when it makes sense for new companies or new buildings to be constructed in a way that communicates to developers what we want built in Lenexa and what sort of incentives we're willing to offer in order to get the projects done that we really want to see.
And to you, Joe, what role, if any, do you believe the city should play in economic development?
So I think the city has an active role in economic development, and the really nice thing about Lenexa is the city and the chamber work so well together. There are unfortunately some cities where there's an adversarial relationship, which is unfortunate. As I said, Lenexa Chamber, Lenexa City have a great working relationship and have established that over 20, 25 years. The Chamber's responsibility and the city's as well is first to support existing business, second to bring new business to Lenexa. And so we do that by creating the right culture. We do that by providing the right incentives for the companies that we want to come and invest in Lenexa.
All right, moving on to question number 5, and Joe, you'll answer this one first. As the city considers future development and redevelopment projects, describe your views on how the city should best manage and balance that growth.
So I think there's really 2 issues in that. First of all is reinvesting in established parts of Lenexa. So we as a city have undertaken a lot of effort in ensuring that established parts of Lenexa are maintained. And that includes streets, sewers when they need to be replaced, the Lenexa Old Town Community Center, the Senior Center, what's happening right now at Indian Trails, and what will happen at Ad Astra Pool. So it's really important first that we continue investing in established parts of Lenexa. As we look towards undeveloped parts of Lenexa, the key there, I think, is mimicking what we have in existing Lenexa, and that's going to be single-family neighborhoods. I believe we are pretty close to having all the places that are identified for apartments to have been built out. So as we develop Western Lenexa, to me, it's going to be really important that we have single-family neighborhoods where Lenexans can continue to grow.
And Julie, to you, as the city considers development and redevelopment projects, what are your views on how the city should best manage that growth?
Yeah, so for the past year, I have been a part of the steering committee for the update for our comprehensive plan. and have had sort of a look behind the curtain as to the process of our consultants' process to inventory what we have in terms of housing and business, survey residents as to what they want to see in new developments in Lenexa. And I think that we have ahead of us a really comprehensive plan that will communicate to the development community what types of developments we want to see. It will dictate the type of density in housing that we want, not necessarily all single family, but there might be some appropriate uses for multifamily, duplex, apartment complexes. I think that land use map will start to dictate what makes sense and where. And then just making sure that we maintain our tax base that currently is about 50-50 in terms of residences and businesses, to make sure that residential users don't start to take more of the tax burden than they currently do. We want to make sure we're continuing to plan in the same smart way that we do now.
All right, we're going to move on to question number 6. And Julie, this will go to you first. What is your philosophy on the role the city should play in terms of metro area issues?
Yeah, so the word that most folks are using for that right now is regionalism. With the NFL draft and the World Cup and all this attention coming to Kansas City, we all benefit when other parts of the city are succeeding and doing well. And I think it's important to understand that Lenexa doesn't exist in a vacuum, that we are a part of that ecosystem. And when Kansas City as a metro succeeds, we succeed too. One example of that, just anecdotally, is my involvement with Climate Action KC, where I serve on the executive board, and really just approaching climate resilience as a regional effort to lower energy uses, lower greenhouse gases, address stormwater management, really benefits the entire region if Lenexa does well in that effort, and something that I certainly would like to see us continue to do.
Joe, to you, what's your philosophy on the role the city should play in terms of metro area issues?
I think Lenexa's had a leadership position in the region for as long as I remember, 20, 30 years. And I think we set the bar very high by what we do. But as it relates to regional issues, the first question is this right for Lenexa? And if we answer that question that it is, then we should pursue those things. But I would not want to pursue regional issues just for the sake of the fact that everybody else is doing it. We need to first check and make sure that it's the right thing for Lenexa.
All right, we're ready for question number 7. And Joe, you'll answer this one first. What do you believe are the greatest challenges the city faces over the next 10 years, and how would you address them?
So I think the two big issues are going to be economic and personnel. And so speaking of personnel first, as everybody knows, we are in an incredibly tight job market right now. The city is no exception. We're just like any other business where we have to work to hire and retain the very best. And I think we do that through competitive pay and benefits, and then the great culture that Lenexa has. So it's going to be really important to maintain those going forward. Secondly is the economy. So as I look back over the 18 years that I've been volunteering for the city, we've been through the Great Recession, post-recession, a pandemic, post-pandemic, incredibly tight job market, and now a topsy-turvy world with regard to commercial real estate, specifically in office, retail, and warehousing. So to think we're going to go into the future and everything economically is going to be fine, I think is difficult to understand. So I think we need to make sure that we have the appropriate finance and economic perspective on things so that when the next unknown happens, we can be prepared to respond to that.
And to you now, Julie, what do you believe are the greatest challenges facing the city over the next 10 years, and how would you address them?
So I think certainly one of the things that we are hearing the most from folks is the cost of housing. And it is up to us to come up with an array of solutions to address that problem. We watch as neighboring cities are implementing property tax rebate programs. We ourselves have a exterior grant rebate program. Just diversifying and increasing our housing stock certainly is important. So I think that we need to be really attacking that problem on a front of multiple strategies to make sure that people can age in place in Lenexa, that new families can move here, that our police and firefighters can live here if they so choose, because it's kind of critically important and certainly something that's on everyone's mind these days.
All right, we're going to move on to question number 8, our final question of this portion of the forum. And this will go to you first, Julie. What do you believe makes you uniquely qualified to serve in this position and most distinguishes you from your opponent in this race?
Yeah, so when I think about leadership, I think about the ability to do two things. And one of those is to zoom in and think about a problem tactically and the detail leveled sort of analysis that you would need to solve a problem at a small level. I think you also have to be able to zoom out and think about the strategic vision of the city, what impacts the decisions that you make at a tactical level could impact sort of the overall goals of, say, Vision 2040 and the things that our citizens want. And knowing when to do those two things is important to any leader, and certainly one that has not had a change in the last 20 years. This is what design thinking has taught me how to do. This is what I've spent my entire career being able to address, is being able to both solve problems and see the bigger vision of a situation in order to provide thought leadership and design leadership in my career. And I think that skill set transfers one-to-one. It has been useful on the city council, and it will be as mayor.
And to you now, Joe, again, what do you believe makes you uniquely qualified to serve in this position and most distinguishes you from your opponent?
2 words come to mind as I answer that question: community and experience. So as I said at the beginning, we have lived in the Lenexa community for 31 years. We've been integrally involved with churches, schools, HOAs, starting new charities, and volunteering in a variety of programs. So community is incredibly important to me, and I think it's incredibly important to Lenexans. Second is the experience, and I think that runs the gamut of my experience with the city for the last 18 years, and also the financial and business experience. Having been a small business owner for 25 years, having been intimately involved with finance and accounting for cities and for businesses, I think those all really come together and serve the mayor of Lenexa well.
All right, we're going to move on to the closing statements. As a reminder, candidates will each have 1 minute to present closing statements, and those will be given in reverse order of the opening statements. So Joe, we're going to start with you with your closing statement.
Well, I'm just super happy to have found Lenexa in the first place more than 30 years ago. Our family absolutely loves Lenexa. And as I look back the last 18 years that I've been involved with the city, I take great pride to have had a little bit in the success and the path that Lenexa has gone so far. And I think even as well as we are doing today, I think Lenexa's best days are ahead of us, and I look forward to being part of that.
And Julie, to your closing statement.
Thank you. Just again, want to thank Ashley and the Chamber for hosting us, to everyone who is watching the video online. We are at a pivotal point in our city. We've experienced so much growth in Lenexa, none of which has been by accident. For the first time in 20 years, we're about to have new leadership in City Hall, and it is crucial that the new mayor is ready to guide our city forward. I believe that leadership should be by design, not by default. As a designer, a business owner, and a council member, I'm prepared to lead Lenexa into its next chapter. My name is Julie Sayers. My website is julieforlenexa.com, and I hope you'll make a plan to vote for me in November. Thank you.
And that concludes our Lenexa Mayoral Forum. Let's thank our candidates for participating in today's program. Again, on behalf of the Lenexa Chamber of Commerce and our colleague local chambers around the county, thank you for taking advantage of this important opportunity to help us learn about the candidates. For more information about candidates, videos of candidate forums, and advanced voting details, please visit www.votejoco.com, and please share this voter resource with your colleagues, your friends, and your family. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us today.